What's up, vapors? Thanks for checking out Daily Vape TV. My name is Nick, and it's Fresh Build Friday. That's right, it's that time of the week again where we get you ready for the weekend with a brand new coil build. Alright guys, so Wotofo hooked me up with a couple new devices for review, and I figured what better time to give you guys my first impressions and build it than right here on Fresh Build Friday. So right here, I've got the Serpent SMM, or Suck My Mod. This is their collaboration with Wotofo on a new tank that's kind of based on the Serpent, and I love the look of it so far. I mean, this thing is absolutely gorgeous. So I am excited about this one. Let's get this thing going. So without further ado, let's go ahead and grab our mod, our wick, our addy, our wire, our tools, all that good stuff. Let's go down to the close-up view and build it up. Alright guys, so as I stated in the intro, we're going to be building on this Serpent SMM, or Suck My Mod. And yeah, I just wanted to build it so I can test it out for the forthcoming review. So today we're just going to do a simple single fuse Clapton coil, which I know you've seen a million times on this channel, but we're going to throw a variation on it. Today we're using some 28 gauge Kanthal and some 38 gauge or 36 gauge Nichrome 80. So I feel like I want to use it on this guy right here, which is the 2700 Oceanus by Innokin. I don't know. I feel like it sits, appropriately on there. I think it'll look good, and I think it will perform well there as well. So there we go. I'm just going to take about 1.5 feet or so of this Kanthal wire, our core wire today, and we're just going to straighten it out real quick. So just going to pop it in the chuck of the drill and spin it up for a few seconds. Like that. And away we go. So now that we have this lovely piece of straight Kanthal wire, we're just going to put it back into the chuck of the drill. Actually, you know what we're going to do is loop it through our spinners first. So loop it through, just like that. Get it to about the halfway point, and then even up the first couple legs just like that. And we're going to put those in the chuck of the drill. Just like that. And I usually like to have each leg facing a slightly different direction so that you get the maximum amount of tension possible inside the chuck here. So just like that. You can really crank that sucker down. Now, what I like to do is just run my fingers across like so. Just pinch it right at the end there. You can do that with your pliers. Just like that. You don't really have to get it super crazy tight, but I usually like to do that just for, my own preferences. So, next thing we're going to do is take our 36 gauge. I'll show you this little trick here. Just slide it right through. You should have a little tiny gap. And you can even wrap it around the little legs that are sticking out there if you want. And then I'll usually just clip off the excess just like that there. So now you want to get it started slow and just do a few quick little wraps like that. And then you're good to go. So let's just go ahead and spin up some Clapton wire. Alright, so once we get our fuse Clapton wire all set here, I actually intentionally double up on this end. And I do that because it just adds a little bit more kind of stability to the wire, if that makes any sense. I don't know, it's just something I've been doing for quite some time now, and it just seems to work for me so that the wire doesn't slip around or anything like that. So now we have our fuse Clapton wire already here, and we're just going to get out any of the twists in it. So the way you do that, I noticed that a lot of the time I get twists in the first part of the wire, pretty much the first half of the wire going one direction, and twists in the latter half of the wire going in the opposite direction. So what I do is first I'll grip it right in the middle with my little pliers here, my nylon tipped pliers, and just spin it in the opposite direction. Usually it only takes about 2 or 3 or so spins before it's good to go. And it's fairly difficult to get these twists out in this end here, but I like to try as best as I possibly can by just spinning it in the same direction you originally twisted the wire or wrapped the wire in. So just clockwise here for me. And sometimes you'll have to go back and forth a little bit. You might have to go back to the middle and then just get out the original twists again. Just like that. Then kind of go back and forth a few times, but that usually gets out any twists that you might have in your wire. So there we go. So now that we have a nice straight piece of fused Clapton wire, I'm just going to wrap a coil with it. So I think we're going to do our standard 7 wraps today. I want to bring the resistance up a little bit on this to save a little bit of battery life, and also I want it to work on a single battery mod. That's kind of my goal here, is to have a good flavor coil for a single battery mod. Now, I know that the 2700 batteries are a higher amp limit than other 18650s, but I kind of want to, you know, just baby them a little bit so that I don't stress it out too much. You know, I just have this kind of, not really fear of the unknown, but at the same time, it's kind of like, I want to play it safe. That's basically what I'm getting at here. So for this build, I'm just going to play it pretty safe and just do my thing here with some 28 gauge Canthal cores, and hopefully our resistance will end up around, I'm going to guess, 0.4, 0.5. Probably only going to be using this thing about 50, 60 watts tops, so I think we'll do a normal 7 wrap. So that's 5, 6, and 7. Now with this one here, you want to leave your leads going 2 different directions. So you're going to have to do basically 8 wraps on the bottom and 7 wraps on the top, or I think it's, what do they call it? An 8-7 wrap, something like that. That's the way we used to, you know, call it. That's what we used to call it back in the day when we used to have our leads going in different directions for builds like on the K-Fun and stuff like that. So there we go. We have our coil all set here. Just like that. Pretty simple stuff there. And now it's time to install. So let's bring our mod in real quick. And we'll get started here. So first thing I'm going to do is loosen up 2 of these terminals. Now, with this one, it has 4 terminals, so technically you could build a dual coil on it, but for today, for my purposes, I'm just doing a simple little single coil. So first of all, let's make sure our mod is off. Yep, it is off. Just going to unscrew the terminals here and here. And this one should be a pretty easy install, I feel like. Just kind of slot the coil right in there like that. Right in the middle. I'm just going to tighten down one side for right now. Yeah, actually, I'm going to turn it this way because I feel like I want to make sure it's dead center. Oh, now I got to re-loosen it again. There we go. So there we go. Dead center. Just like that. And yeah, it kind of bent up the coil a little bit, but that's okay, because what we're going to do now is reinsert our jig back through, pull that coil real tight, and we're going to just kind of adjust it around ever so slightly, just like that. Going to try to get it centered in front of that airflow as well, because this airflow is a little bit on the low side, so we're going to have to kind of pull that wire tight so that we can get that coil to sit, yeah, just like that. That's exactly where I want it, right there. That's perfect. So a little bit of wire wrangling, and we got our coil positioned just right. So I'm just going to lock it in right there. Just going to try to straighten it out as best as I can. I feel like we're good to go as far as clipping our leads, clipping our excess wire. So we're just going to do that. Boop. And boop. Could not be any easier. That's for dang sure right there. Could not be any easier to clip off that excess. And I think what we'll do here is just kind of nudge it a little bit that way and a little bit this way. Just kind of go back and forth with it a little bit there until it's positioned exactly where I want it. Just right there, perfect. Actually, I think we're ready to get this thing fired up. So first of all, I'm going to drop my wattage down probably 25. Yeah, we'll do 25 watts. We'll get out our ceramic tweezers and start giving this thing a little bit of heat here. Pinch and pulse. Pinch and pulse. It's the name of the game. you just want to be very careful with this step too. Don't want to screw up that coil. Go very gentle on this stuff too. First couple of fires, you want to just barely touch that fire button. Just brush it across a little bit. And every so often you want to make sure to reinsert your bit back through, because these coils want to deform. So you can't allow that. Alright. We're in good shape though. We're looking pretty good already. Just going to continue pressing the fire button, just nudging around the coil a little bit. Light brush across. Alright, I'm going to turn it up. Let's see what our resistance is real quick. 0.8, holy crap. That is high. I was shooting for a lot lower than that. That 28 gauge is pretty high resistance stuff. But I guess 0.8 is better than, you know, 1 ohm or anything like that. I didn't think it was possible to make a fuse Clapton that was 1 ohm. I'm kidding, of course. I'm kidding, of course. Don't take me so literally, guys. So actually, our final wattage might only be about 30 watts. Okay, a couple last minute little pinches there. Yeah, that's looking good to me. What do you guys think? Does that look good to you? I think so. Let's go ahead and wick this guy. Alright guys, so we have it all wicked up here, and let's just go ahead and see how this thing performs. Let's bump up the wattage a little bit more. I think we're going to do about 35 watts. I think that should be fine. So, let's give it a shot. Yep, we have vapor, so that's good. Not much, but you know what? That's kind of what I was shooting for with this guy. It's not so much a vapor production kind of build. It's more or less a flavor build. And tell you what, this Cinecream Dream smells really good to me right about now, so I want to vape it. Let's go ahead and go back to the main screen, have a quick vape on this thing, and we'll talk about it some more. You know what? This thing actually does produce a good amount of vapor, and I'm kind of surprised by that, really, because I kind of knew going into this that this was going to be more of a flavor build and not a cloud build. And when you have the actual chimney section and the tank off, it doesn't really look like much, but I'm really blown away by the performance, honestly, I got to tell you guys. But yeah, I did bump it up to 40 watts. I'm rocking it at 40 watts. It came out to 0.86 ohms. So I was kind of going into this thinking about the 26 gauge core wire resistance, and I totally forgot that we're going to be using 28 gauge today, so I knew that was going to raise up the resistance a little bit, but I didn't know how much. But in any case, let's go over my my categories here. First and foremost, we have the heat. The heat on this one is just right. It is absolutely perfect for me. I'm getting a good amount of airflow. The airflow is hitting that coil directly, and that kind of cools it down a little bit. I feel like if I close it off at all, it's going to be a little bit too warm for the actual coil itself. Not necessarily for me, but just basically the coil itself. I don't want that thing getting too hot and drying out too fast. So with that, with the airflow wide open, it is absolutely phenomenal. My second category today, which is the ramp up and ramp down time at 40 watts, which is what I'm using it at, it is almost none whatsoever. It's about maybe quarter to a half a second. I'm always impressed by how fast the Inikin devices ramp up, and this is no exception to that. So yeah, really happy with the ramp up time. Let's go ahead and check out the ramp down. So I am getting about a 5 to 6 second ramp down time, which is a bit more than I anticipated. However, for a single coil running 40 watts at 0.86 ohms, I really can't complain too much about it. It is kind of a mellow sizzle. It's about 2 to 3 seconds of like a heavier sizzle, and then it just kind of tapers off into almost nothing. So keep that in mind if you're planning on doing this one at home. It's really not that bad. yeah, I guess it's overall kind of average, I would say. And for my third category, which is the difficulty of this build, this one is fairly easy if you guys know how to do fused Claptons, which everyone should by now. This one is pretty easy. Honestly, I was expecting a little bit higher difficulty with the slots in the posts instead of actual post holes, but really, that almost helped in a way because you can kind of just place your coil in there and then adjust to suit it. So with that, tightening down one side and then adjusting your coil, then tightening down the other side, and then just kind of wiggling it around ever so slightly as you're kind of working on it, it's definitely not that hard. And for my final category, which is the flavor on this build, well, today I'm vaping some Cinecream Dream by Holy Cow e-liquid, and let me tell you, this stuff has been steeping for about probably 6 months or so. I've had this bottle, and it's just been chilling in my drawer, and yeah, I just decided to pick it up off the shelf here and vape it, because, you know, I've been kind of in the mood for a desserty flavor recently, and this stuff is really good fresh out of the lab, I gotta say. It's a very kind of nice, lightish cinnamon bakery with a little bit of like icing flavor in there, and just having this stuff this steeped and on this particular build is just fantastic. Oh my god. The flavor is phenomenal on this particular build. I love the surface area in combination with the sort of relatively low wattage because you get more flavor, kind of slightly less heat but more flavor, and it's just doing it for me. I am loving it. I'm not really the biggest dessert flavor fan, but today this stuff is absolutely killing it. So that about does it for this video, guys. I hope you enjoyed. If you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe for more videos just like this. Don't forget that you can click that notification bell right next to the subscribe button if you want to be alerted whenever I upload videos. Also, leave me some comments in the box below. I'd love to hear your thoughts about this build or the Serpent SMM or anything else you guys want to discuss. If you have a suggestion for a future episode of Fresh Build Friday, just drop it on down there. Also, make sure you check out the links I have in the description. I've got the advocacy and my social media links right down there. And you can also get yourself a Daily Vape TV t-shirt. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and as always, vape on.